What do you remember from the first time we met?
The first time we met was at my college at Bates, and I was setting up chairs, and I think you thought I was a janitor. I
debated over the
I
years.
was wearing sweatpants and was not prepared to, set up
Your life.
set up my life or meet you. I remember the next time we met a little bit better, but
Yeah.
the real first time we met, I remember talking about music.
But a good first impression, though.
Good first impression. List your top 3 memories we've had together.
I would say the first would be us spending that whole first weekend together, the week after we met, because that was kind of where it went from like, oh, here's this person I didn't think I was going to meet ever again, to all of a sudden now we're hanging out and we have this chemistry and this is really exciting. I think number 2 is probably going rafting with you. The first summer that we were together, I had never gone whitewater rafting. I was very nervous about that.
Yeah.
The third and most important one is definitely us getting engaged, because I thought the weirdest part to me still is that I thought you knew it was coming, because we had talked about like, what kind of ring do you want? And like, this is something that's somewhat imminent. But the fact that it took me taking a ring out and your entire family knowing what was going on before you realized, and then you swearing in front of your grandmother. I don't know if I can swear here, but it was great. What is similar and different about us?
So similar, I would definitely say that in a lot of ways we're on, the same wavelength when it comes to, what we care about, how we sort of like approach life, like pretty even-keeled people. I don't really know how. I don't know how we're different. That's probably something I should think about.
Well, no, not necessarily. I think we certainly are a lot more similar than we are different. Obviously, our lives are incredibly different, but...
Yeah, well, that's kind of like the biggest thing. Obviously, I work all day, like...
we literally have the opposite lives.
We have opposite lives, yeah. So that would probably be a pretty big reason we're
personality-wise,
different.
I don't feel like... and that's the thing, because it's one thing to tell people like why you're interested in somebody, but the first time you see somebody with that person, I think tells you a lot. And I think when people saw us together, that was the comment that we got more than anything else. Was like, it seems like you two are just like locked in. We are kind of like a comedy duo amongst our friends in the way of just like always being really, really quick with stuff.
I don't. Yeah.
Well, something that we can work towards.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a big difference is, the day job, night job thing.
Well, and also I think you're somebody who, and obviously we've talked about this before, like you're much more oriented towards small town than a city, a house over an apartment, a yard over not a yard. And I think obviously the things that matter in terms of family and what we believe in align, but in terms of what we, like where we envision ourselves living or that kind of thing, I think that's probably been one of the only sources of like conflict or argument that we've had.
Yeah. What are you hesitant to tell me?
I think sometimes I'm hesitant to tell you like what my fears are regarding my future and as a result our future. Like any self-doubt that I have regarding my chosen career or whether or not I think everything's going to pan out, I kind of try to keep that to myself, because I know earlier on I feel like I was a lot more negative than I am now about how things were going for me, and I think that affected our relationship at times. And I don't feel that way as much anymore, but there are times where I feel like I want to sulk, and I just kind of do that on my own on the train, and then I try to let it go by the time I get home.
That sucks.
Well, but it's not, I think if there's a situation where I'm upset, it just happened this weekend where I feel like a show didn't go well, like I'll always talk to you about that, because I know not only that you're going to listen to me, but you're going to make me feel better about it. But I also don't want to bombard you with that, because I work in a field where there's a lot of rejection and negativity, and if I did that every time I was upset about something, you'd be like, this guy's really kind of a wimp. Are there things that you like actively keep from me?
I mean, I think it goes to what we were saying before about the differences, where it's like every time I feel like a pang of homesickness to move back out of the city, or like every time I hear a freaking car horn, like, can I just move back to a place that doesn't have car horns, or, you know, a place where people aren't yelling at each other all the time, or you don't have to take the subway and people don't sit on top of you or stink all the time, like
Clip their nails.
clip their nails in public places. Like,
Not a lot of that in Maine.
there isn't. And, you know, when I think about where you don't tell me all the time when you have a bad night at a show, when I think about our future together in New York, I get really nervous about living here forever. It's such a tough thing because you're so tied to here with your job, and I could literally be anywhere. As long as I have my computer, like, I could literally be anywhere.
Well, I feel like even if we don't say it in specific terms, we both kind of have an understanding and an agreement that, like, this is where I need to be now. I try to do a good job of, I guess, maybe smaller things, or at least listening to you, or listening to your point of view on stuff when there's something that's more important to you, or something that would help, I guess, alleviate some of the loneliness, or what?
Getting a
like
puppy.
Getting a puppy that we're talking about. When something like that comes up, I don't just think of it as black and white, like, do I want a dog or do I not want a dog? It's, what would it mean to you, and would it be something that would, like, improve your quality of life, quite honestly, and happiness, because of the fact that I've had to ask a lot of you.
I think it is like an even sacrifice thing. Obviously, at the beginning, moving down here was seemingly a lot, and I think to a lot of my friends, and especially like my family, probably even still to this day, some of my family is like, why did you move to New York? Obviously, they get that I'm with you and know that I love you and that we're getting married and get all of that stuff, but like, moving to New York, when clearly I'm so in love with the idea of Maine, seems like a crazy idea, but...
Well, yeah, and you wouldn't have moved here. I mean, there are plenty.
No.
I'm sure there's plenty of people who live in Maine and always wanted to live in a city, and so they moved to Boston or to New York or whatever. But
literally, 75% of my classmates.
Right, but I don't think that's something that you envision for yourself.
No.
I wish that there were a scenario where I could say, it's going to take me 5 years to accomplish X, Y, and Z, and at that time I will be successful enough that we can live anywhere, and I'll just fly wherever I need and that sort of thing. But, you know, we know that that's not the reality of the situation.
I guess that's why it means hesitant to tell you.
Yeah. Why did you want to marry me?
There were a lot of reasons I wanted to marry you. I think that one of the main reasons that I wanted to marry you and still want to marry you are because we get along so seamlessly. There are so many things and so many reasons that we shouldn't be together, and so many things that shouldn't have brought us together, and so many things that like should have happened to push us apart.
Yeah.
You know, we were long distance for a year and a half, and I was still in college when we met, and we could have broken up so many times in there. But like through all of that, it just seemed so clear at the end of it that you were the person that I was supposed to be with.
Last one.
Why do you love me?
So many reasons. I love you because everything has always been really, really easy. It's been, everything about us is what people say doesn't exist when people talk about what an ideal relationship is. In our entire relationship, as angry as we've been at each other at any given time about big things, whether it was you being willing to move here or whether or not things were going to work out, there was never a time that we cursed at each other or said things that we couldn't take back. And I think that has laid the groundwork for a really awesome life together. It's just a level of comfort that I have with you that I haven't had with anybody else. And that's why even when we think about the future, none of that scares me, because I know that as long as you and I are doing all that stuff together, it's going to be fine.
Ditto. Just kidding. Those are our vows.
That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah.